Welcome to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're grateful you've chosen to join us today. Tell us, which part of the world are you watching from? Big city? Small town? Country? We'd love to know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Blueprint of Deception. Travis Holloway stood at the edge of his latest architectural masterpiece, the Riverside Heights Complex, a testament to his journey from the backstreets of Detroit to becoming one of the most sought-after architects in Chicago. The evening sun glinted off the glass facade he had designed to capture light at this exact hour. At 45, Travis had built his reputation through grit and raw talent, not family connections or inherited wealth. His phone buzzed. Veronica's message was terse. Won't be home for dinner. Board meeting ran late. Don't wait up. Third time this week. Travis pocketed his phone without replying. Their 15-year marriage had become a hollow structure. Impressive from the outside, but crumbling within. He remembered when they'd met, back when he was still fighting for recognition, and she was the dazzling socialite who'd somehow seen something in him beyond his working-class roots. Mr. Holloway, the investors are waiting. His assistant, Paige, gestured toward the conference room. Give me a minute, Travis said, straightening his tie. These moments before meetings were when he missed Vincent the most. His oldest friend was traveling through Europe on a sabbatical, unreachable for another week. Vincent would have offered some profane but accurate assessment of the situation, making Travis laugh despite himself. After securing the Riverside Heights deal, Travis drove home to their sprawling lakeside house, one he designed himself as a gift to Veronica for their 10th anniversary. The house he rarely felt welcome in anymore. He found Liam, his 17-year-old son, sprawled on the living room couch, expensive headphones clamped over his ears. "Where's your sister?" Travis asked after Liam reluctantly removed one earpiece. "Out with Mom. Some charity thing." Liam barely looked up from his phone. Travis nodded, recognizing another lie. The Chicago Children's Fund event wasn't until next week. He was on the donor list. He walked to his study, closed the door, and pulled out the small leather notebook he'd started keeping 3 months ago. In it, he meticulously documented every inconsistency, every lie, building a case like he would structure a building, layer by layer. His phone rang. The caller ID showed Naomi Sinclair, Veronica's best friend since college. "Travis," Naomi said, her voice hushed. "We need to talk. Not over the phone." "I'm listening," Travis replied, already knowing what she might say. "Tomorrow. Lakefront coffee. Noon." She hung up without waiting for confirmation. Travis stared at the phone. Naomi had been acting strangely at their last dinner party, watching Veronica with a mixture of disappointment and anger. He suspected Naomi's conscience was finally getting the better of her loyalty to Veronica. Later that night, Travis heard Veronica's key in the lock just after midnight. He remained in his study, pretending to work while monitoring the security system on his tablet. Another recent installation Veronica didn't know recorded to a private server. She stumbled slightly entering their bedroom, the scent of unfamiliar cologne trailing her. Travis watched on the tablet as she showered immediately, then buried her clothes in the hamper beneath others. "Gathering evidence won't make it hurt less," he whispered to himself. But he wasn't building a case to heal his pain. He was constructing the foundation for something else entirely. The next day, Naomi confirmed what Travis had already pieced together. Veronica was having an affair with Theodore Buck Sullivan, a real estate developer who had recently commissioned Travis for a downtown project. "He's dangerous, Travis," Naomi warned over coffee. "Not just the usual rich asshole. People who cross Buck tend to face consequences." "How long?" Travis asked, his voice perfectly controlled. 8 months. Maybe longer." Naomi couldn't meet his eyes. "She's been poisoning the kids against you too, telling them you're cold, distant, only care about your work." Travis nodded, adding this information to his mental blueprint. "Why tell me now?" Naomi finally looked up. "Because last week Buck was laughing about how he's going to ruin you professionally after he gets what he wants." And Veronica was laughing with him. As Travis drove back to his office, he made a call to an old contact, someone who owed him from years ago when Travis had kept quiet about certain structural irregularities in exchange for future favors. It was time to collect. Chapter 2, Structural Weakness. 3 weeks passed while Travis executed the first phase of his plan. He hired a private investigator named Damon Walsh, a former intelligence operative who specialized in difficult cases and operated entirely off the books. "You're not the first husband I've worked for," Damon said as they met in a vacant office Travis owned through a shell company. "But most want the evidence for divorce court." "I need more than evidence," Travis replied. "I need to understand their patterns, their plans, everything." Damon's findings exceeded expectations. Buck Sullivan wasn't just having an affair with Veronica. They were planning a future together that required Travis's complete professional destruction. Sullivan had systematically courted Travis's clients, beginning with subtle rumors about delays and budget overruns in Travis's projects. More disturbing were the conversations Damon recorded between Veronica and their children. Travis listened stoically as his wife described him as emotionally absent, obsessed with proving himself, and embarrassing with his working-class habits to their increasingly receptive children. "Dad doesn't get how things work in our world," Veronica had told 14-year-old Tara. "Buck understands appearances matter." Only once did Travis betray emotion, when Damon played a recording of Veronica and Buck in bed together, laughing about the Riverside project. "He has no idea I've already convinced Westfield to drop him after the preliminary designs," Buck boasted. "He'll design it. I'll take the credit with my modifications, and by next year, he'll be begging for commercial renovations work." Travis closed the laptop. "That's enough. There's more," Damon said. "They're planning to announce their relationship at the Sullivan Foundation Gala next month. She's already secured a post-divorce position on their board." Travis nodded. "What about Sullivan himself?" "I need leverage." "That's where it gets interesting." Damon slid across a folder. "Sullivan isn't just corrupt, he's careful. But even careful men make mistakes." Travis opened the folder to find documents detailing how Sullivan had been systematically stealing designs from architects, paying city inspectors to create problems for competing developers, and maintaining dangerous building practices to maximize profits. Most troublingly, he had connections to several local politicians who ensured his projects received preferential treatment. "He's untouchable through normal channels," Damon warned. The last architect who threatened to expose him was found with child pornography on his computer. Case later dismissed, but his career was over. Sullivan plays to win. "So do I," Travis replied, closing the folder. "But I need someone else. Someone Sullivan and Veronica would never connect to me." Damon hesitated. "I might know someone. A woman named Meredith Whitman, former federal prosecutor who now runs a private equity firm specializing in real estate, has a personal vendetta against Sullivan after he ruined her brother's construction company." "Make the introduction," Travis said, discreetly. That evening, Travis joined his family for dinner for the first time in weeks. He watched as Veronica performed the role of devoted wife, asking about his day with practiced interest while Liam and Tara barely acknowledged him. "I've been thinking," Travis said casually, "we should host Thanksgiving here this year. Invite the extended family." Veronica nearly dropped her fork. "Your side too?" "Travis, your Uncle Dale spent last Christmas talking about his time in prison." "Family is family," Travis insisted with unusual firmness. "Besides, I've been absent too long. Time to reconnect." The children exchanged glances, but Travis continued eating as if nothing were amiss. Let Veronica think she had broken him into seeking family connection. Every architect knew the importance of misdirection. Later that week, Travis met Meredith Whitman at her downtown office. She was striking in her early 50s, with steel gray hair and eyes that assessed him. "Damon explained your situation," she said without preamble. "Why should I help you?" "Because you want Sullivan ruined, and I can deliver him in a way that ensures he never recovers," Travis replied. "I don't want money or revenge. I want justice, complete and irreversible." Meredith's expression didn't change. "Sullivan destroyed my brother's reputation, his company, and ultimately his will to live. I've spent 5 years looking for a weakness and found nothing usable." "You didn't have access to his inner circle." Travis placed a small drive on her desk. "I designed his home, his office, and now he's sleeping with my wife. There's no better access than that." As Meredith reviewed the files, her composure finally cracked. "This is comprehensive. I'm thorough," Travis said simply. "But information alone isn't enough. I need your connections and resources." "What exactly are you proposing?" Travis leaned forward. "A complete deconstruction. Professional, personal, financial. I've already begun laying the groundwork." By the time Travis left Meredith's office 3 hours later, they had formed an alliance built on shared purpose. Phase 2 could begin, and with it, the careful dismantling of the life Buck Sullivan had built. Chapter 3: The Breaking Point. Thanksgiving arrived with bitter cold and early snow. Travis had spent the preceding weeks implementing his plan's initial stages. He maintained his normal routine, giving Veronica and the children no reason to suspect he knew anything. Meanwhile, Meredith had begun redirecting investments away from properties connected to Sullivan's developments, creating subtle market pressure that would only be noticeable to those paying close attention. The Holloway home buzzed with preparation. Travis had insisted on hosting both families, his working-class relatives from Detroit and Veronica's upper-crust connections from Lake Forest. The tension was palpable as caterers arranged everything to Veronica's exacting standards. "Your Uncle Morris just pulled up," Veronica hissed, watching from the window. "He's wearing a flannel shirt. To Thanksgiving dinner." Travis suppressed a smile. "He's comfortable with who he is." "Well, I'm not comfortable with my mother seeing this," Veronica snapped. "The Blackwells have hosted senators. Last year we had dinner with the governor. Yet here you are with the boy from Corktown," Travis remarked. "Funny how life works out." Veronica's face hardened. "Yes, funny." The dinner began cordially enough. Travis had seated himself at the head of the table, a position he rarely claimed in recent years. He watched as Veronica charmed his relatives while simultaneously exchanging knowing glances with her own family. The silent communication clear. These people are beneath us. Halfway through the main course, Travis excused himself to take a call from the office and slipped into his study. 3 minutes later, right on schedule, the doorbell rang. Travis heard Veronica answering, then a moment of confused silence. "Travis," Veronica called, her voice tight. "There's someone here for you." He returned to find Buck Sullivan standing in his foyer, holding a bottle of expensive bourbon and wearing an expression of calculated surprise. "Travis, didn't expect to find you home on holiday," Buck said with practiced joviality. "Thought you'd be working on the Madison Avenue revisions." Travis extended his hand with a smile. "Buck, what a surprise. We're just having Thanksgiving dinner. I should go," Buck began, but Travis interrupted. "Nonsense. Join us. There's plenty of food, and we should discuss those revisions you mentioned." The blood drained from Veronica's face as Travis led Buck to the dining room, introducing him to everyone as a client and close friend of Veronica's from the foundation. "Mr. Sullivan has taken a special interest in our family lately," Travis added, watching his wife's knuckles whiten around her wine glass. The meal continued with excruciating tensity. Travis noted how Liam practically fawned over Buck, asking about his car collection and summer home in the Hamptons. Tara, more reserved, watched the adults with calculating eyes that reminded Travis of himself at that age, missing nothing. When dessert was served, Travis stood to make a toast, something so out of character that the table fell silent in surprise. "Family is everything," he began, raising his glass. "Blood relatives and chosen family alike. The foundations we build determine what structures can stand upon them." He looked directly at Veronica. "Some structures look solid, but are compromised from within. It takes an expert to recognize the signs before collapse." Buck shifted uncomfortably while Travis's Uncle Dale, the ex-con, eyed him with sudden interest. "To foundations," Travis concluded, "may we all be aware of what we're really standing on." The atmosphere remained strained until Veronica's mother suggested they move to the living room for coffee. As the group migrated, Veronica pulled Travis aside. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed. "Hosting Thanksgiving," Travis replied mildly. "Isn't that what you wanted? A husband who participates in family gatherings." Buck showing up was completely unexpected. "Was it?" Travis asked, his voice finally revealing a hint of steel. Interesting coincidence. Before she could respond, Veronica's father called her over to resolve some dispute about family photos. Travis retreated to help clear dishes, finding Tara already in the kitchen, pensively scraping plates. You know, don't you? She asked without looking up. Travis paused. Know what? About Mom and Mr. Sullivan. Tara finally met his eyes. She thinks I don't notice, but I do. Liam's too busy trying to impress everyone to see it. Travis studied his daughter, reassessing her. When did you figure it out? 3 months ago. She was texting him while helping me with homework. I saw the messages when she went to answer the door. Tara's voice was flat. She told me you're distant because you're ashamed of where you came from. But that's not true, is it? No, Travis said simply. I've never been ashamed of my origins. They taught me to recognize authentic people from frauds. He touched her shoulder briefly. Thank you for paying attention. The moment was interrupted by Veronica, who entered with a brittle smile. Travis, your relatives are asking for you. Something about showing them your office. As Travis left, he heard Veronica instructing the catering staff to serve Buck a special plate in the living room. He guided his Detroit relatives through a tour of the home he had designed, noting with irony how much more they appreciated its architectural details than Veronica's family ever had. When they returned to the main gathering, Travis found the seating arrangement had been subtly altered. Buck was now holding court near the fireplace, Veronica attentive at his side, while a place had been conspicuously cleared in the far corner. Travis, Veronica called with false brightness. We've set up a place for you in the garage with the leftovers. Your Uncle Dale was telling us about his interest in automotive repair, so we thought you could both be more comfortable out there. A sickening silence fell over the room. Even Veronica's mother looked embarrassed. The garage. Travis's cousin Bethany asked. What the hell kind of way is that to treat your husband? It's fine, Travis said calmly. Dale and I have a lot to catch up on. Dale, reading something in Travis's expression, stood up and clapped him on the shoulder. Lead the way, nephew. Been wanting to pick your brain anyway. As they headed toward the garage, Tara suddenly stood. I'm coming too. Tara, sit down, Veronica ordered. There's no need to. I want to hear Uncle Dale's stories, Tara insisted. To everyone's surprise, Liam stood as well. Yeah, me too. Travis felt a surge of unexpected emotion as his children followed him to the garage, where the catering staff had indeed set up a makeshift dining area among the tools and vehicles. At Thanksgiving, they made me eat in the garage, Travis said conversationally to Dale as they sat down. He's used to scraps, my wife said. Dale's weathered face darkened. Wanting to have a word with her? Prison taught me some persuasive techniques. No need, Travis replied, watching his children's reactions. This is actually perfect. They sat in awkward silence for a few minutes, the children picking at the leftover turkey and stuffing. Dad, Liam began, then stopped, seeming to struggle with what to say. It's okay, Travis said. I know about your mother and Buck. Tara glanced at her brother. I told you he'd figure it out. How long have you known? Liam asked. Long enough, Travis replied, and long enough to do something about it. Before he could elaborate, they heard the crunch of tires on the snow-covered driveway. Through the garage windows, they watched as a sleek black limousine pulled up to the front of the house. The driver emerged first, opening the rear door. A woman stepped out, tall, elegant, instantly commanding in a tailored charcoal suit despite the bitter cold. She surveyed the house for a moment before walking purposefully to the front door. Who's that? Liam asked. Travis checked his watch. Right on time. He stood and straightened his jacket. That's Meredith Whitman, and she's looking for the owner of this house. As they moved back toward the main house, they could hear the doorbell, followed by Veronica answering. From the hallway, Travis watched as Meredith introduced herself. I'm looking for the owner of this house, she stated clearly, her voice carrying through the suddenly quiet gathering. Veronica's face tightened with territorial pride. I'm Veronica Holloway. This is my home. Meredith's gaze swept over Veronica, then past her to where Buck sat frozen by the fireplace. Actually, she said coolly, I'm looking for Travis Holloway, the architect who designed this house, and who holds sole title to it. The blood drained from both Veronica and Buck's faces. What is this about? Buck demanded, standing. Meredith turned to him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Sullivan, how convenient. You've saved me another stop. She reached in her leather portfolio. I have some documents that Mr. Holloway and I need to discuss regarding the future of Riverside Heights and several other properties you're currently involved with. Travis stepped forward, feeling his children close behind him. I'm Travis Holloway, he said clearly. And yes, we have quite a lot to discuss. As Veronica and Buck exchanged panic glances, Travis gestured toward his study. Shall we begin? Chapter 4, Controlled Demolition. The study door closed with a soft click that somehow sounded final. Travis took his seat behind the custom mahogany desk. Another piece of his life he had designed and built himself. Meredith settled into the leather chair opposite him, while Buck remained standing, his body language oscillating between aggression and uncertainty. Veronica had attempted to follow them, but found herself firmly excluded. This is a business discussion, Travis had informed her with clinical detachment. Since you're neither an architect nor a developer, your presence isn't required. Now, in the wood-paneled sanctuary of his study, Travis observed Buck's mounting discomfort. What's this about Holloway? Buck demanded. If this is some kind of intimidation tactic. Please sit down, Mr. Sullivan, Meredith interrupted. What we're about to discuss affects approximately 60% of your current development portfolio. Buck reluctantly took a seat, his forced smile failing to mask his concern. I don't believe we've been properly introduced, Ms. Whitman. Meredith Whitman of Whitman Capital Partners. She laid her business card on the desk. Until recently, we were passive investors in several projects you've developed. As of last week, we've initiated a complete divestment. Travis watched as recognition dawned on Buck's face. Whitman Capital Partners controlled a significant investment fund specializing in high-end real estate development. Exactly the kind of projects Buck used to cement his reputation. There must be some misunderstanding, Buck began, his voice adopting the smooth, reassuring tone that had doubtless charmed countless investors. Our developments consistently outperform market projections. The financial returns aren't the issue, Travis interjected. It's the methods that concern Ms. Whitman and her associates. Perhaps we should speak privately, Ms. Whitman. Buck shot Travis a warning look. Without disgruntled employees present, Meredith raised an eyebrow. Mr. Holloway isn't an employee, Mr. Sullivan. He's my new partner. Buck's composure finally cracked. Partner? What the hell are you playing at, Travis? We're establishing a new architectural and development firm, Travis explained calmly, specializing in projects that have been compromised by, shall we say, unethical practices. You can't possibly. The Riverside Heights project will be our first acquisition, Meredith continued, as if Buck hadn't spoken. We've already secured commitments from the primary investors to transfer development rights once certain information comes to light. Travis opened a folder on his desk. We've documented 37 building code violations across your last 5 projects. Buck. Electrical systems that barely meet minimum standards, foundational shortcuts, material substitutions that wouldn't withstand serious inspection. He pushed a document forward. This amendment to the Riverside contract you had me sign, the clause hiding your intention to substitute structural steel quality after my inspection phase? Highly illegal. You're bluffing, Buck said, but sweat had appeared on his upper lip. Every developer makes adjustments post-design. It's industry standard. Endangering lives for profit isn't a standard I recognize, Travis replied. Nor does the Municipal Building Safety Commission. They're quite interested in reviewing these findings. Buck leaned forward, voice lowered to a threatening whisper. You know how this works, Travis? You come after me, I'll destroy you. One call to the right people, and you'll never work in this city again. That would be concerning, Travis agreed, if I hadn't already recorded you making similar threats over the past few months. He tapped his computer screen, which displayed a sound wave visualization. Would you like to hear how you explained to my wife your plan to appropriate my designs while systematically undermining my professional reputation? The blood drained from Buck's face. You've been recording private conversations? That's illegal. In some contexts, yes, Meredith acknowledged. In others, such as documenting criminal conspiracy or within one's own property, using security systems with clearly posted notification. Perfectly admissible. Travis gestured to the small security notice framed by the entry to his study. My home security system records audio and video in all common areas. It's disclosed at every entrance, as required by law. A system you and Veronica discussed disabling last month, if you recall. Buck stood abruptly. This meeting is over. Whatever you think you have, my lawyers will bury it and then bury you. Before you go, Meredith said, her voice stopping him at the door, you should know we've already spoken with Councilman Patterson about the zoning irregularities in the West Loop project. He was surprisingly eager to distance himself once we shared the documentary evidence. Buck's hand froze on the doorknob. The mention of Patterson, his most reliable political ally, hit its mark. Patterson would never. Self-preservation is a powerful motivator, Travis noted. As you yourself explained to Veronica while in my guest room 2 weeks ago. Buck turned slowly, reassessing Travis with something approaching genuine respect. What do you want? That's simple, Travis replied. I want you to sign these papers transferring developmental control of Riverside Heights to our new firm. Then I want you to take an extended vacation while we review the rest of your projects for acquisition. And if I refuse? Travis closed the folder. Then tomorrow morning, the building commission receives our full report. The state's attorney gets the recording of you discussing how to circumvent safety inspections, and the investors receive documentation of how you've been systematically overcharging while delivering substandard structures. Buck's jaw worked silently as he calculated his options. Finally, he stepped back to the desk. Let me see these papers. As Buck reviewed the documents, his face grew increasingly pale. The agreement wasn't just a transfer of Riverside Heights. It was a compulsory purchase framework for his entire development company at a fraction of its value. This is highway robbery, he muttered. No, Travis corrected. This is consequence. You try to steal my work and my reputation while sleeping with my wife. Consider yourself fortunate we're offering any compensation at all. Buck's head snapped up. You know about. I know everything, Travis said quietly. Every meeting, every conversation, every plan you two made. After a long moment, Buck reached for the pen Meredith offered. His signature was shaky but legible on each page. You've just made a powerful enemy. Holloway, he said as he finished. Travis smiled thinly. No, I've just neutralized one. There's a difference. After Buck stormed out, Meredith gathered the signed documents. Phase 1 complete, she noted. He'll try to fight this, of course. Let him, Travis replied. The digitally notarized copies are already with our attorneys, and the recordings have been secured. By the time he regroups, the Riverside transfer will be complete. And your wife? Meredith asked carefully. Travis's expression hardened. That's phase 2. She doesn't know it yet, but she lost everything the moment she invited Buck Sullivan into my home. They emerged from a study to find the Thanksgiving gathering in disarray. Most guests had departed, leaving only Veronica, the children, and a few lingering relatives. Buck was nowhere to be seen. What did you do? Veronica demanded, her voice shrill. Buck left looking like he'd seen a ghost. We concluded some business, Travis replied mildly. Ms. Whitman, thank you for coming on such short notice. My children, Liam and Tara, the teenagers who had been watching from the hallway, stepped forward uncertainly. A pleasure, Meredith said, assessing them with genuine interest. Your father is an extraordinary architect and businessman. You should be very proud. Ms. Whitman has just helped me secure the largest project of my career, Travis explained. We'll be restructuring Riverside Heights with complete creative control. But that's Buck's project, Veronica protested. Not anymore, Travis replied. Now, if you'll excuse us, Ms. Whitman and I have further business to discuss. I'll be spending the night at my downtown apartment. Children, you're welcome to join me if you'd prefer. Tara immediately stepped toward her father. I'll get my overnight bag. Liam hesitated, looking between his parents before reluctantly moving to his sister's side. Yeah, me too. As the children went to gather their things, Veronica grabbed Travis's arm. You can't just take my children. Our children, Travis corrected, removing her hand. Who are old enough to decide where they spend the night, especially after watching their mother banish their father to the garage during Thanksgiving dinner. That was a joke, Veronica insisted. You're overreacting. We both know it wasn't, Travis replied. Just as we both know where you've been spending your afternoons for the past 8 months. The color drained from Veronica's face. Travis, I can explain. Save it, he cut her off. The time for explanations has long passed. Now we move to consequences. Meredith watched this exchange with professional detachment before checking her watch. We should proceed if we're going to make the call with Tokyo, Travis. He nodded and turned to follow the children upstairs, leaving Veronica standing alone in the entryway, the wreckage of her carefully constructed life settling around her like dust after an implosion. Chapter 5. Foundation Removal. News of Buck Sullivan's sudden divestment from Riverside Heights sent shockwaves through Chicago's development community. Within days, rumors circulated about financial irregularities, structural concerns, and potential building code violations. Travis and Meredith's newly formed company, Holloway Whitman Partners, officially announced their acquisition of the troubled project to ensure its completion with the highest standards of safety and design integrity. Travis moved permanently to his downtown apartment, which quickly became headquarters for their expanding operations. Liam and Tara divided their time between their parents, though Tara increasingly chose to stay with her father while Liam remained torn between loyalties. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, Travis sat across from his lawyer, signing the final documents. She's contesting everything, Philip Barnes informed him, sliding another form forward. The prenuptial agreement, the property divisions, even custody, although the children are nearly adults. As expected, Travis replied, signing his name with deliberate strokes. Has she found new representation yet? Third law firm this week, Philip confirmed. The first 2 withdrew when they reviewed the evidence packets you provided. Travis nodded. The packets contained meticulously documented evidence of Veronica's affair, her conspiracy with Buck to undermine Travis professionally, and most damagingly, her systematic manipulation of family finances, including several instances of forging Travis's signature to access his personal accounts. And the house? Travis asked. Given that you owned it prior to the marriage and maintained sole title, her claim is weak, especially considering the documentation showing she was planning to move out to live with Sullivan. Travis permitted himself a small smile. Veronica's text messages discussing which furniture to take from Travis's pretentious architectural showcase had been particularly useful. What about Sullivan? Any counterattacks yet? Philip shuffled his papers. His attorneys sent a letter claiming duress during the signing of the transfer documents. Our response included audio excerpts from his discussions with Veronica about destroying your career. They've gone quiet since. They're regrouping, Travis noted. Sullivan won't surrender his company without a fight. A fight he's rapidly losing allies for, Philip pointed out. 3 of the city council members he regularly dealt with have publicly distanced themselves. Something about an ethics investigation? Meredith's contribution, Travis explained. Her brother wasn't Sullivan's only victim. She's assembled quite a coalition of people with grievances and evidence. After the meeting, Travis returned to find Tara sitting at his drafting table, studying the Riverside Heights plans with surprising understanding. You've changed the central courtyard, she observed without looking up. It's more accessible now. Travis paused, reassessing his daughter yet again. You have a good eye. The original design was more visually striking, but created unnecessary barriers. Like Mom, Tara said quietly. Beautiful but full of barriers. Travis set down his briefcase. You don't have to choose sides, Tara. I already did, she replied, finally meeting his gaze. When I realized she was lying about you. Liam still believes her version, that you were always cold, always working, never really loved any of us enough. And what do you believe? Tara gestured to the blueprints. I believe people reveal themselves through what they create. You built spaces for us to live in, to be together. She built narratives where she was always the victim. Travis felt a swell of pride mingled with regret. At 14, Tara already showed more insight than he had at twice her age. Your brother will find his own way, Travis said. Right now, he's hurt and confused. He's being an idiot, Tara corrected. Yesterday, he told me Buck offered to take him racing in his Ferrari this weekend. Like that's not totally inappropriate and obviously manipulative. Travis stiffened. Your mother is allowing this. Encouraging it, Tara confirmed. Says it's important for Liam to have a positive male role model now that you've abandoned the family. Travis reached for his phone, then stopped himself. Reacting emotionally would play into Veronica's narrative. Instead, he needed to accelerate the next phase of his plan. We have a family court appearance on Friday, he told Tara. The judge will likely establish temporary arrangements while the divorce proceeds. Would you be comfortable stating your preference to live primarily with me? Tara nodded firmly. Absolutely. And I have screenshots of Mom's texts about you that might help. She doesn't know I can see her iMessages on the family iPad. You're quite resourceful, Travis noted with a mixture of admiration and concern. But I need you to remember something important. Our goal isn't to destroy your mother. It's to protect ourselves and ensure consequences for actions. What about Buck? Tara asked. Are you going to destroy him? Travis considered the question carefully. Buck Sullivan built a career by destroying others. I'm simply ensuring an appropriate response. That evening, Travis received a call from an unknown number. He answered to find Detective Roland Pierce on the line. An unexpected development. Mr. Holloway, the detective began without preamble. I understand you've had some business dealings with Theodore Sullivan recently. That's correct, Travis confirmed, immediately alert. May I ask what this is regarding? I'll lead a task force investigating development corruption, Pierce explained. Sullivan's name features prominently in our files. I've noticed some unusual activity around his company in recent weeks. I acquired certain interests in his developments, Travis acknowledged carefully. All properly documented and above board. A pause. That's what interests me, Mr. Holloway. In 15 years tracking Sullivan, I've never seen him surrender control of anything willingly. Yet he signed over his flagship project to you without a public fight. Perhaps he recognized inherent problems with the development. Perhaps, Pierce agreed. Or perhaps you have something on him that even he couldn't risk becoming public. Something that might interest my task force. Travis weighed his options carefully. An alliance with law enforcement could provide additional leverage, but it would mean surrendering control of the timing and possibly limiting his options for dealing with Sullivan completely. I have documentation of certain building code violations, Travis offered, along with evidence suggesting systematic bribery of inspectors. Would that be relevant to your investigation? He could almost hear Pierce's smile through the phone. Extremely relevant, Mr. Holloway. I'd very much like to meet to discuss this further. They arranged a meeting for the following day. After hanging up, Travis called Meredith to update her on this new development. Pierce is legitimate, she confirmed after he explained. Has a reputation as incorruptible, which is why he hasn't advanced further in the department. If he's reaching out directly, Sullivan must be a significant target. Can we use this without compromising our overall plan? Travis asked. We'll need to adjust the timeline, Meredith conceded. But having law enforcement pressure could actually help isolate Sullivan from his remaining allies faster than we could manage privately. And Veronica? Meredith hesitated. The police involvement complicates things. Any evidence connecting her to Sullivan's business practices becomes more delicate. She wasn't involved in the building code violations, Travis noted. Her interests were purely personal. Then we proceed as planned for that aspect, Meredith decided. Speaking of which, have you spoken to Naomi recently? Not since she provided the initial information. You might want to call her, Meredith suggested. My sources indicate Veronica is planning to shift narratives. Instead of the cold, absent husband story, she's now presenting herself as a victim of emotional abuse who sought comfort elsewhere. Travis closed his eyes briefly. Of course she is. After ending the call, Travis worked late into the night, preparing documents for Detective Pierce while simultaneously finalizing the next phase of his personal plan. It was well past midnight when his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. This has gone too far. Meet me tomorrow. B.S. Travis studied the message, considering its implications. Sullivan reaching out directly likely meant his other options were evaporating. The timing, just before Travis's meeting with Pierce, suggested desperation. Golden bean coffee. 7 a.m. Travis responded, then added, come alone. The meeting could provide useful intelligence, or it could be a trap. Either way, Travis would be prepared. Chapter 6, Points of Failure. The Golden Bean was nearly empty at 6:45 a.m. when Travis arrived. He selected a corner table with clear sight lines to all entrances and positioned his phone to record any conversation. 15 minutes later, Buck Sullivan entered, looking notably diminished. His designer suit appeared slept in, his normally immaculate hair disheveled. "You look terrible," Travis observed as Buck took the seat opposite him. "Cut the shit," Holloway, Buck growled. "You've made your point. Name your real price." Travis sipped his coffee. "I already did. The contracts you signed were quite clear. Those contracts were signed under duress, and we both know it." Buck leaned forward. "Listen, I underestimated you. That's on me. But this vendetta is affecting innocent people now." "Innocent people?" Travis repeated. "Like who?" "My employees, for starters. 47 people work for Sullivan Development. They didn't sleep with your wife. No, they just helped you create unsafe buildings and defraud investors," Travis countered. "But you're right. Not everyone deserves the same consequences. That's why we're retaining most of your staff during the restructuring." Buck blinked in surprise. "Restructuring? You're actually going through with taking over my company?" "It's already done," Travis informed him. "The board voted yesterday after reviewing evidence of your creative accounting. The remaining formalities will be completed by month's end." Buck's face flushed with anger. "This is about Veronica, isn't it? You couldn't keep your wife interested, so you're taking it out on me professionally." Travis raised an eyebrow. "Is that what Veronica told you? That I was inattentive? Emotionally unavailable, perhaps?" "Among other things," Buck muttered. "Did she mention that while I was designing the Riverside project, working 16-hour days at your insistence, she was spending our anniversary fund on lingerie for your benefit?" Travis's voice remained perfectly calm. "Or that she told our children I was embarrassing because of my working-class background?" Buck had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Look, whatever went on between you and Veronica was systematically undermined by both of you." Travis completed the sentence. "You saw an opportunity to acquire both my wife and my professional output while discarding me in the process. Now you're experiencing the consequences. So that's it. You'll destroy everything I've built." Travis leaned forward. "No, Buck. I'm going to rebuild it. Properly, safely, and ethically. The Sullivan name will be removed from all properties and replaced with legitimate developments that don't cut corners or endanger lives." "You self-righteous prick," Buck spat. "You think you're so much better than me? At least I'm honest about going after what I want." "Including other men's wives?" Buck's laugh was ugly. "Especially that. You know how many developers are sleeping with their colleagues' wives? It's practically a professional courtesy at this point. Veronica was looking for an upgrade the moment she realized you'd never really belong in her world." Travis absorbed this without visible reaction. "Is that why you're meeting Detective Pierce tomorrow? To discuss professional courtesies?" The blood drained from Buck's face. "What are you talking about? Pierce's task force has been building a case against development corruption for years. Your name features prominently in their files. Did you think I wouldn't coordinate with law enforcement eventually?" Buck's expression shifted from shock to calculation. "You gave him information about me. I provided evidence of building code violations," Travis clarified. "The rest of your activities they've been tracking independently. Something about suspicious payments to zoning officials." "You're bluffing," Buck insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. Travis removed a folder from his briefcase and slid it across the table. "Copies of what I provided Pierce. You'll note it focuses specifically on structural and safety violations, not your broader business practices." Buck scanned the documents, his expression growing increasingly grim. "This is comprehensive. I'm thorough," Travis replied simply. "But you'll notice there's nothing there about your relationship with Veronica or your attempts to appropriate my designs. I've kept that separate." Buck looked up sharply. "What?" Because despite what you and Veronica believe, this isn't about petty revenge. It's about accountability. Travis reclaimed the folder. The building violations are a public safety matter that belonged with authorities. The rest is between us. Buck studied Travis with new wariness. What exactly do you want from me? Step down voluntarily from all remaining positions. Sign the transfer documents for your remaining properties. Make a public statement about pursuing new opportunities that necessitated these changes. Do that, and your personal life remains personal. And if I refuse? Travis stood, gathering his belongings. Then, in addition to the building code violations, Detective Pierce receives documentation of certain offshore transactions that might interest the Financial Crimes Division, along with records of your meetings with Councilman Patterson regarding zoning adjustments. Buck's face hardened into resignation. You really do have everything, don't you? Not everything, Travis replied quietly. But enough. After leaving Buck to contemplate his rapidly diminishing options, Travis headed directly to the courthouse for the family court hearing. He arrived to find Philip already waiting, accompanied by a grim-faced Tara. Mom brought Buck, she informed him, and she's wearing waterproof mascara. Travis squeezed his daughter's shoulder supportively. Ready for this? Tara nodded firmly. I brought the screenshots and diary entries like Philip suggested, plus the recording of her telling Liam that you only married her for social connections. Inside the courtroom, Veronica sat with her newest attorney, a sharp-featured woman with a reputation for aggressive divorce litigation. Buck sat directly behind them, his presence a calculated statement. Liam occupied the seat beside his mother, studiously avoiding eye contact with Travis or his sister. Judge Marion Wilkins, a veteran of family court with a no-nonsense reputation, called the hearing to order promptly. After initial statements from both attorneys, she addressed the issue of temporary custody and visitation. Given the children's ages, she noted, their preferences carry significant weight. I understand both children are present today. What followed was precisely the performance Travis had anticipated. Veronica presented herself as a devoted mother whose marriage had deteriorated due to Travis's emotional distance and workaholic tendencies. She described seeking emotional support, notably avoiding the word affair, only after years of neglect. When questioned directly, Liam reluctantly supported his mother's narrative, though his discomfort was evident. Dad was always working, he mumbled. Mom was the one who was actually there for us. Judge Wilkins then turned to Tara, who sat straight-backed and composed. And you, young lady, what's your perspective on these arrangements? My father has always been present in meaningful ways, Tara stated clearly. He designed spaces in our home specifically for family activities. He attended every school event when not traveling for work. He taught me architecture principles when I showed interest. She paused, then added, my mother told different stories depending on her audience. To her friends, my father was her brilliant husband. To us, he was distant and difficult. To Mr. Sullivan, he was an obstacle to be removed. Veronica gasped audibly. Tara, how can you say such things? Judge Wilkins raised a hand for silence. You have evidence supporting these assertions? Tara nodded and presented her folder of screenshots, diary entries, and recorded conversations. As the judge reviewed them, Veronica's attorney leaned over to whisper urgently in her client's ear. The temporary arrangements established by Judge Wilkins largely favor Travis. Liam and Tara would primarily reside with him, with Veronica granted weekend visitation. More significantly, the judge ordered a full financial audit after reviewing evidence of Veronica's manipulation of family accounts. Outside the courtroom, Veronica intercepted Travis, her face contorted with rage beneath a carefully maintained veneer of dignity. You've poisoned my daughter against me, she hissed. No, Veronica, Travis replied calmly. You did that yourself with every lie you told. Buck approached, placing a restraining hand on Veronica's arm. This isn't the place, he muttered. There are reporters outside. Travis regarded them both with detached interest. Planning a united front for the cameras? I'd reconsider that strategy, Buck. Detective Pierce might find the optics interesting for his investigation. Buck's expression hardened. This isn't over, Holloway. On the contrary, Travis replied. It's entering the final phase. As Travis walked away with Tara and Philip, he heard Liam call his name. He turned to find his son standing awkwardly between his parents and Travis, uncertainty written across his face. Can I come with you today? Liam asked hesitantly. Veronica immediately protested. Liam, we discussed this. You're coming home with me. Travis simply extended his hand toward his son. You're always welcome, Liam. Always. After a moment's hesitation, Liam stepped toward his father. It wasn't forgiveness or reconciliation. Not yet, but it was a beginning. That evening, as Travis and his children settled into the downtown apartment, his phone rang with news that would accelerate everything. Detective Pierce's voice was tense with controlled excitement. Sullivan just tried to leave the country on a private jet, he reported. We intercepted him at the airport with evidence of flight risk. He's being held for questioning regarding the building code violations and several other matters that have conveniently come to light. What kind of matters? Travis asked, though he already suspected. Financial irregularities, apparent bribes to zoning officials, and most interestingly, evidence suggesting he deliberately sabotaged competitors' projects through compromised inspections. Pierce paused. This is bigger than just Sullivan, Mr. Holloway. We're looking at systematic corruption throughout the development approval process. I'm not entirely surprised, Travis admitted. There's something else, Pierce added. Sullivan's trying to cut a deal. He's offering information on other developers, politicians, anyone he can use as leverage, including, apparently, information about your wife. Travis closed his eyes briefly. Ex-wife, soon enough. And whatever he's claiming about Veronica, I likely already know. Maybe, Pierce conceded. But there's one detail you might find interesting. According to Sullivan, your wife approached him initially, specifically because of your work on Riverside Heights. Said something about using your connection to him to secure a position with his charitable foundation. The final piece clicked into place. Veronica hadn't just fallen into an affair with Buck Sullivan. She had deliberately targeted him as Travis's most prominent client, positioning herself to transition smoothly to a new life once Travis had been professionally compromised. Thank you for that information, Detective, Travis said after a moment. It confirms certain suspicions. After ending the call, Travis sat silently at his drafting table, contemplating the structure of what was to come. The foundation had been removed. The support beams were compromised. All that remained was the controlled collapse of what had once been his marriage and Veronica's carefully constructed social position. Travis began preparing the final phase of his plan. Chapter 7. Excavation. The Sullivan Foundation Winter Gala had been Chicago's premier social event for over a decade, a carefully orchestrated display of wealth, influence, and philanthropic virtue signaling. This year's event, hastily rebranded as the Chicago Children's Welfare Celebration after Buck Sullivan's dramatic fall from grace, promised to be unusually tense. Travis adjusted his bow tie in the mirror, noting with detached satisfaction how much had changed in the 6 weeks since Thanksgiving. Sullivan Development was now effectively under Holloway Whitman Partners' control. Buck himself remained ensnared in an expanding investigation, released on bail, but essentially radioactive in business circles. Most significantly, what had begun as a building code investigation had metastasized into a sweeping corruption probe that threatened numerous city officials. You look like a villain preparing for his big scene, Meredith observed from the doorway of Travis's apartment. Not a villain, Travis corrected. Just someone ensuring consequences. Meredith's steel gray gown complemented her hair perfectly. The guest list confirms Veronica will be attending. Are you certain this is how you want to proceed? It's fitting, Travis replied. She and Buck planned to announce their relationship at this very event. The venue should remain the same, even if the announcement differs. At precisely 8 o'clock, Travis and Meredith arrived at the Grand Horizon Hotel. The ballroom glittered with Chicago's elite, many of whom greeted Travis with new deference, a consequence of his company's meteoric rise and Sullivan's corresponding collapse. Travis Holloway, remarked Bradley Winston, president of the city's largest bank. The man of the hour. Your acquisition of Riverside Heights was masterfully executed. Simply a matter of identifying structural weaknesses, Travis replied with deliberate ambiguity. He spotted Veronica across the room, holding court among her social circle. She had maintained her position on the gala committee despite Buck's disgrace, leveraging family connections to distance herself from the scandal. Liam stood awkwardly at her side, uncomfortable in his tuxedo, but dutifully playing the role of supportive son. Tara, who had refused to attend with her mother, entered on the arm of Vincent Reeves, Travis's oldest friend who had returned from Europe to support him through the divorce. "Your ex-wife looks like she swallowed something sour," Vincent observed as he joined Travis by the bar. "The rumors about tonight must have reached her." "What rumors would those be?" Travis asked mildly. Vincent grinned. "That Holloway Whitman Partners is announcing a major new foundation, one that might overshadow certain other charitable endeavors." "People do love to speculate," Travis acknowledged. His phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. "She knows something's happening. Just tried pumping me for information. Ready when you are." The evening progressed through dinner with the practiced rhythm of such events: bland speeches, performative check presentations, and strategic networking. Throughout it all, Travis observed Veronica growing increasingly tense as she noted his comfortable interactions with Chicago's power brokers, many of whom had previously been her exclusive social territory. After the main course, Councilwoman Eleanor Hamilton approached the podium for what was ostensibly a routine civic recognition. Instead, she stunned the room by announcing her immediate resignation due to personal reasons, her voice barely steady as she referenced her cooperation with ongoing investigations into municipal governance. A ripple of shocked murmurs swept through the ballroom. Hamilton had been one of Buck Sullivan's strongest allies on the city council and a close friend of Veronica's family. "Did you know about this?" Meredith whispered. Travis nodded slightly. Detective Pierce mentioned additional developments were forthcoming. Hamilton must have decided to get ahead of the indictments. As coffee was served, the event chairman signaled for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have an unscheduled announcement from Holloway Whitman Partners, our new platinum sponsor for this evening." Travis approached the podium with measured steps, aware of every eye in the room, particularly Veronica's shocked gaze. He had conspicuously avoided philanthropy throughout their marriage, allowing her to manage that aspect of their public image. "Good evening," he began. "Recent events have reminded us all that integrity in construction isn't merely a professional ideal. It's a matter of public safety and trust." He paused, allowing the pointed reference to Sullivan's building code violations to register. "Tonight, I'm pleased to announce the establishment of the Holloway Design Scholarship Program, which will provide full university funding for promising architectural students from disadvantaged backgrounds. This $20 million endowment will ensure that talent, not privilege, determines access to education and opportunity." The applause was enthusiastic, particularly from those who recognized the implicit contrast with Sullivan's more self-aggrandizing charity work. Travis continued, his voice steady. "Additionally, Holloway Whitman Partners will be establishing an independent building safety verification process for all new developments in Chicago, offered pro bono to ensure no financial barriers to implementation." As Travis outlined the details, he watched Veronica's expression shift from surprise to calculated assessment. She was already plotting how to position herself within these new initiatives, a predictable response he had anticipated and prepared for. After concluding his announcement to considerable acclaim, Travis navigated through congratulatory conversations until he reached Naomi, who stood strategically near Veronica's table. "Impressive speech," Naomi said loudly enough for Veronica to hear. "Especially the scholarship program. Such a contrast to foundation work that mainly serves to advance social standing." Veronica's composure finally cracked. "If you have something to say, Naomi, say it directly." "I believe I just did," Naomi replied coolly. "Though I'm surprised you're still claiming foundation expertise, considering recent revelations." "What revelations?" demanded one of Veronica's friends, instantly alert to potential gossip. Travis stepped forward. "I'm sure Naomi is referring to private matters. Private like your wife approaching Buck Sullivan with a proposition before you were even assigned to the Riverside project?" Naomi asked with false innocence. Or private, like her explaining to the Sullivan Foundation Board that she could deliver her architect husband's services at discounted rates in exchange for a director position? The blood drained from Veronica's face. That's a malicious lie. Is it? Travis asked quietly. Because the Sullivan Foundation Board minutes document your presentation quite thoroughly, as does Buck's sworn statement to Detective Pierce. Veronica's friends drew back slightly, social instincts instantly alert to the shifting dynamics. Travis, Veronica began, her voice taking on the wounded tone she had perfected. You can't possibly believe. What I believe is immaterial, Travis interrupted. The documentation exists. Your initial approach to Sullivan predated our marriage difficulties by nearly a year. You didn't fall into an affair because I was distant. You orchestrated a professional connection with the specific intent of securing your next position. The silence that fell over their immediate vicinity was deafening. In social circles where appearances were paramount, the calculation behind Veronica's actions was far more damning than the affair itself. Mom, Liam's voice was small and confused. Is that true? Veronica turned to her son, desperation creeping into her expression. Liam, you know your father's just bitter about. The board minutes, Liam interrupted. Are they real? They're real, Naomi confirmed. I accessed them when I began suspecting something wasn't right. Dated 14 months ago, when you were still telling everyone what a genius your husband was. Veronica's social mask crumbled entirely. You had no right to access private foundation documents. As a board member, I had every right, Naomi countered. Unlike you, who was denied a position due to ethical concerns, which I now realize referred to your targeting of your husband's professional connection to Sullivan. More guests had subtly gathered around their conversation, drawn by the unmistakable scent of social blood in the water. Veronica, with the instincts of a lifetime socialite, recognized the catastrophic collapse of her position. This is hardly the venue for such discussions, she attempted, reaching for dignity. Interesting, Travis noted. That's precisely what Buck said at the courthouse. Yet you both selected this very event to announce your relationship originally, before certain complications arose. The final blow came from an unexpected quarter. Mrs. Abernathy, the elderly doyen of Chicago society whose approval Veronica had courted for years, spoke up from nearby. I must say, Veronica, this lacks a certain grace. Calculated affairs are one thing. We're all adults here. But leveraging one's husband professionally while simultaneously undermining him, it suggests a troubling character. The social execution was swift and merciless. Within minutes, Veronica found herself subtly isolated, her usual allies making excuses to circulate elsewhere. Liam, shocked and confused, stood apart from both parents, processing this new understanding of his mother's actions. Travis approached his son, speaking quietly. You don't have to choose sides tonight, Liam. Take time to think. Liam looked up, his expression pained. All this time, she said you were the one who changed, that your success made you cold. People often project their own failings onto others, Travis observed, your mother included. As Veronica attempted to salvage her dignity by gathering her things to leave, Travis felt a surprising absence of triumph. The orchestrated social destruction of his wife had been meticulously planned and perfectly executed, yet the victory felt hollow compared to the pain evident in his son's eyes. Meredith joined him as Veronica made her exit, followed by a few remaining loyalists. Perfectly executed, she murmured. Though I note you didn't reveal everything. Some consequences are best delivered privately, Travis replied, watching as Naomi discreetly handed envelopes to several influential board members, containing evidence of Veronica's attempts to divert charitable funds for personal use, another discovery from Damon's thorough investigation. By morning, Veronica Holloway would be quietly removed from every charitable board and social committee she had spent years cultivating. Her carefully constructed identity as a philanthropic force would be systematically dismantled, not through public scandal, but through the more devastating mechanism of private consensus among Chicago's elite. As the gala wound down, Travis collected Tara and prepared to leave. Liam approached tentatively. "Can I come home with you tonight?" he asked, echoing his question from the courthouse weeks earlier. "Of course," Travis replied. "Your room is always ready." The three Holloways departed together, leaving behind the wreckage of Veronica's social standing, a demolition as precise and controlled as any Travis had ever designed. Chapter 8: Reinforcement. 3 months after the gala, Travis sat in Judge Wilkins' courtroom for the final divorce hearing. The proceedings had accelerated dramatically following Buck Sullivan's plea agreement with the district attorney's office, which had included sworn testimony about Veronica's premeditated approach to Sullivan and her active participation in plans to undermine Travis professionally. The financial audit had uncovered Veronica's systematic misappropriation of funds from joint accounts, including several instances of forged signatures. Combined with the ironclad prenuptial agreement Travis had insisted upon, a document Veronica had signed willingly, believing she would never need to contest it, the outcome was never in serious doubt. The court finds the prenuptial agreement valid and enforceable, Judge Wilkins announced. Additionally, given the documented financial improprieties, Mrs. Holloway's claims to additional assets are denied. Veronica sat stiffly beside her newest attorney, her expression frozen in dignified outrage. The past months had seen her social and financial position erode with stunning speed. Removed from charitable boards, excluded from social events, and now facing the loss of the financial security she had taken for granted. Regarding the family residence, the judge continued, as Mr. Holloway maintained sole title and the property was specifically excluded in the prenuptial agreement. Ownership remains with him exclusively. Mrs. Holloway is granted 30 days to remove her personal belongings. Travis listened impassively. The house meant nothing to him now. He had already engaged an architect to design a new home for himself and the children, incorporating elements they had collectively selected. He planned to sell the existing property once Veronica vacated. Finally, regarding custody of the minor children, Judge Wilkins reviewed her notes. Given their ages and clearly stated preferences, primary residence is awarded to Mr. Holloway, with standard visitation rights for Mrs. Holloway. The judge fixed Veronica with a stern gaze. "I must note that the court takes a dim view of parental alienation attempts, Mrs. Holloway. The documented evidence of your systematic undermining of the children's relationship with their father will be considered should any future custody disputes arise." After the judge finalized the divorce decree, Travis remained seated while Veronica swept out, trailed by her increasingly beleaguered attorney. The contrast between her current circumstances and the life she had envisioned with Buck Sullivan could hardly have been more stark. Sullivan himself was awaiting sentencing on multiple fraud charges, his empire dismantled, his reputation destroyed. Outside the courthouse, Philip offered congratulations on the favorable ruling. A complete victory, as expected, though I must say, her attorney seemed surprisingly unprepared. Her fourth in as many months, Travis noted. The previous 3 withdrew after reviewing the evidence. This one took the case last week out of desperation. "What now?" Philip asked. "You've systematically dismantled both Sullivan and your ex-wife. Mission accomplished, I would say." Travis considered the question. "Not quite. There's one remaining matter." That evening, Travis invited Liam and Tara to the downtown apartment for dinner. Over the past months, their relationship had gradually strengthened, though Liam still maintained some contact with Veronica despite her increasingly desperate attempts to regain his unquestioning loyalty. "The divorce is final," Travis informed them as they gathered in the living room afterward. "I want to discuss next steps with both of you." Tara, now 15, had blossomed during these months, her natural intelligence finding expression in a growing interest in design. "Does this mean we're selling the house?" she asked. "Yes," Travis confirmed. "I've commissioned a new home design based on elements we've all discussed. Construction begins next month on the lakefront property." Liam, less comfortable with direct conversation, examined the preliminary sketches Travis had laid out. "These look really thoughtful," he admitted. "The music studio especially. You mentioned wanting space for your band. Travis explained. I took that seriously. A moment of awkward silence fell before Liam spoke again. Dad, I need to ask something. Are you ever going to forgive Mom? Travis studied his son's face, recognizing the complex emotions beneath the question. Forgiveness isn't really the issue, Liam. Your mother made calculated decisions that hurt this family. She's experiencing the natural consequences of those choices. But she's suffering, Liam insisted. She called me crying yesterday because her credit cards were declined. All her friends have abandoned her. Those aren't friends, Tara interjected. They're social climbers who followed her when it was advantageous and dropped her when it wasn't. She's still our mother, Liam argued. Travis leaned forward. Liam, listen carefully. Your mother isn't destitute. The divorce settlement included a reasonable cash payment and ongoing support. If she's experiencing financial difficulties, it's because she's continuing to live beyond sustainable means. But nothing, Travis said firmly. I haven't pursued criminal charges for the forged signatures or financial misappropriation. I haven't publicly exposed her manipulation of charitable funds. Those were choices I made to minimize impact on you and your sister. But I won't artificially support the lifestyle she built while planning my professional destruction. Liam fell silent, absorbing this. And Buck, he finally asked. Mom says you're the reason he's facing prison time. Buck Sullivan is facing prison because he consistently violated building codes, creating unsafe structures for profit, Travis corrected. He additionally engaged in bribery, fraud, and witness intimidation. Those are his actions, not mine. Tara touched her brother's arm. Liam, I know you liked him, but he was using you to hurt Dad. Those offers to take you racing in his Ferrari? Always time when Dad had important meetings, forcing him to choose between his work and stopping you from being with someone dangerous. Liam's expression suggested this perspective hadn't occurred to him. I didn't realize. Manipulation rarely announces itself, Travis observed. That's what makes it effective. The conversation shifted to more immediate concerns, school, activities, plans for the summer. As the evening concluded, Travis presented each child with a small box. What's this? Tara asked, opening hers to reveal a polished brass key. Keys to the apartment, Travis explained. I've established separate living trusts for each of you, with this property as the primary asset. Regardless of what happens in the future, you'll always have a secure home. Liam stared at his key with uncharacteristic emotion. You're giving us the apartment? But it's your home. I'm building a new home, Travis reminded him. This ensures you both have independence and security that can't be compromised by anyone, including me. It was the reassurance Liam needed most, proof that Travis's actions weren't about control or manipulation, but about creating genuine security for his children. For the first time since the divorce began, Liam initiated a hug with his father. Thank you, he said simply. After the children departed, Tara to a school friend's home, Liam reluctantly returning to spend the weekend with Veronica, Travis received an unexpected call from Detective Pierce. Sullivan's sentencing is next week, Pierce informed him. His attorney is making a last-ditch effort to reduce his prison time. They're suggesting that you orchestrated his downfall out of personal vengeance. An interesting theory, Travis responded neutrally. Though it doesn't explain the building code violations documented years before I became involved. No, Pierce agreed. But I thought you should know they're trying to drag your ex-wife into it, claiming she was somehow coerced or manipulated into her relationship with Sullivan. Travis almost laughed. That contradicts Sullivan's own sworn testimony about Veronica approaching him first. Desperate men try desperate strategies, Pierce noted. In any case, the DA isn't concerned. The evidence is overwhelming regardless of motivation. After ending the call, Travis poured himself a rare glass of whiskey and stood at the window overlooking the city he had helped shape through his architecture. The systematic dismantling of Buck Sullivan and Veronica had unfolded exactly as designed, each element failing precisely when and how Travis had intended. Yet the victory brought less satisfaction than he had anticipated. Not because he regretted his actions. Travis Holloway was not a man given to regret, but because the process had revealed how hollow their betrayal had been from the start. Sullivan, for all his apparent power, had built his empire on fraudulent practices and bribery. Veronica had constructed her social identity through calculated performance rather than genuine connection. Neither had been worthy opponents. Neither had truly understood what they were dismantling when they targeted Travis's life and work. His phone buzzed with a text from Meredith. Sullivan's lawyer reached out, offering information in exchange for support at sentencing. Interesting? Travis considered briefly before responding. No deals. Let the process complete as designed. Some structures, once revealed as fundamentally compromised, couldn't be salvaged. They could only be demolished completely to make way for something new. Chapter 9. New Construction. 2 years after the Thanksgiving that had marked the beginning of the end, Travis stood on the terrace of his newly completed lakefront home. The structure embodied his architectural philosophy. Clean lines harmonizing with natural surroundings, spaces designed for both community and reflection, technological innovation serving human needs rather than dominating them. "It's really something, Dad," Terrace said, joining him at the railing. Now 17, she had grown into a poised young woman with a promising future in architectural design. "I can see elements from your early work, but it's also completely new." "That's the point of evolution," Travis replied. "Incorporate what works while discarding what doesn't." The house was hosting its first major gathering, a combination housewarming and celebration of Holloway Whitman Partners' completion of the reimagined Riverside Heights, now recognized as the most innovative mixed-use development in the city. The project had won national awards for both design excellence and safety innovations. Inside, the spacious main room buzzed with conversation as Chicago's business and creative leaders mingled with Travis's oldest friends from Detroit. Vincent Reeves was entertaining a group with stories from their college days, while Meredith Whitman discussed expansion plans with potential investors. Notable by their absence were Buck Sullivan and Veronica. Sullivan was serving the second year of a 7-year sentence for fraud, bribery, and building code violations. His cooperation with authorities had implicated several city officials, leading to a sweeping anti-corruption initiative that had transformed Chicago's development approval process. Veronica had relocated to Phoenix after exhausting her financial resources and social connections in Chicago. Her occasional attempts to re-establish contact with the children had gradually decreased as both Liam and Tara set clear boundaries on their relationship with her. Liam's flight landed, Tara reported, checking her phone. He should be here in about an hour. Now in his first year at Berklee College of Music, Liam had gradually reconciled with his father, though the process had been neither quick nor easy. Their relationship had required careful rebuilding, with Travis respecting Liam's need for independence while consistently demonstrating reliability. "Good," Travis said. "I've been looking forward to hearing about his composition project." As twilight settled over the lake, Detective Pierce, now Captain Pierce following his promotion to head the expanded anti-corruption task force, approached Travis with a handshake. "Quite a transformation from 2 years ago," Pierce observed, "both professionally and personally." "Necessary reconstruction," Travis replied. "Sometimes systems need complete rebuilding rather than superficial repairs." Pierce nodded thoughtfully. Sullivan's attorney filed another appeal last week, still trying to reduce his sentence by claiming he was somehow the victim in all this. "Some people never accept responsibility," Travis noted without particular rancor. "How's the wider investigation progressing?" 3 more indictments coming next month," Pierce confirmed. "The evidence trail Sullivan provided open doors we'd been trying to access for years. Though I suspect you already knew the potential implications when you first approached me." Travis merely smiled. "I had some architectural insights into structural weaknesses." As guests began gathering for dinner, Travis observed the community he had carefully constructed to replace what had been lost. Not merely professional connections or social alliances, but genuine relationships built on mutual respect and shared values. Meredith joined him as he surveyed the gathering. "Reflecting on your handiwork?" she asked. "Appreciating the contrast," Travis clarified. 2 years ago, I sat in a garage while my wife entertained her lover in my home. And now Sullivan sits in a cell while you've rebuilt everything he tried to take from you, Meredith noted. Quite the reversal. Not reversal, Travis corrected. Evolution. I'm not interested in simply inverting the previous dynamic. I've designed something entirely new. The doorbell announced Liam's arrival. Travis greeted his son with genuine warmth, noting the increasing confidence in his bearing and the absence of the defensive posture that had characterized him during the divorce. "The house is amazing, Dad," Liam said after receiving the grand tour. "Especially the studio space. I brought some of my new compositions to try out on the equipment." "I'm looking forward to hearing them," Travis replied. "Everything is set up as you specified." As dinner was served in the expansive dining room overlooking the illuminated Chicago skyline, Vincent proposed toast. "To Travis Holloway," he announced, raising his glass. "A man who builds structures that last, in architecture and in life." The guests applauded appreciatively, unaware of the precise significance of the toast to those who had witnessed the systematic dismantling and rebuilding of Travis's life. Later that evening, as the gathering wound down, Liam approached his father with uncharacteristic hesitation. "I got an email from Mom yesterday," he said quietly. "She wants to come visit during spring break. Says she's changed." Travis considered his response carefully. "That's your decision, Liam. You're an adult now. What would you do?" Liam pressed. "Would you forgive her? After everything?" Travis gazed out at the lake, its surface reflecting the city lights. "Forgiveness isn't relevant to my decisions anymore. I don't waste energy on resentment, but I don't forget lessons learned either." "So that's a no," Liam concluded. "That's a recognition that some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt," Travis clarified. "Your mother made consistent choices that revealed her character. I have no interest in reestablishing any connection. But your relationship with her is separate from mine." Liam nodded slowly. "I told her I wasn't ready. That may be someday, but not now." He paused. "Was that the right call?" "There's no universally right answer," Travis replied. "Only the one that honors your own boundaries and well-being." As the last guest departed, Travis found himself on the terrace with Tara, who had been observing the interactions with her characteristic perceptiveness. "You never really told us the whole story, did you?" she asked. "About how you managed to trap Buck and Mom so completely." Travis studied his daughter's intelligent face. "Would knowing the details change anything meaningful for you?" Tara considered this. "No," she admitted, "but I've always wondered if there was a moment when you could have chosen differently, when you could have forgiven them." "There are many such moments," Travis acknowledged. "But forgiveness isn't always the appropriate response to calculated betrayal. Some actions reveal essential character. Tara, your mother and Buck showed me exactly who they were. I simply ensured appropriate consequences." "And never looked back," Tara added. "No," Travis agreed. "Never looked back." As night settled completely over the lake, Travis surveyed the home he had designed, not merely its physical structure, but the life it contained. He had rebuilt everything Buck and Veronica had attempted to destroy, creating something stronger and more authentic than what had existed before. In architecture, as in life, the strongest structures were those built with integrity throughout. No hidden compromises, no weakened supports, no false facades. Travis Holloway had applied that principle relentlessly, both to the buildings he created and to the personal reckoning he had orchestrated. Some would call it revenge. Travis considered it appropriate reconstruction, the necessary response to those who had revealed themselves as fundamentally compromised. He had never wavered, never forgiven, never forgotten. And he never would. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts.